Hi there, my name is Neil Lewis. I'm a certified scaling up coach and a strategic exit advisor. And today, I'd just like to take you through a tool that I use with both my clients who are looking to scale and those that are looking to achieve exceptional exit. It's called the Cashflow Story software. And what it allows us to do is to present their numbers in a way that makes sense to them. But more importantly, what I'm going to take you through today are two tools that it's called the Power of One, and the other is helping them to get clarity on the value of their business as it stands today, what they have in terms of their desired value when they come to exit, the magic number, and where the gap is, and then some tools or some strategies and business plans that we work alongside to figure out how we close the gap. So what we can see here, I've already loaded up the financials for a company called Mylock. They're a consultancy organization, and they've been growing nicely over the last 4 or 5 years, and they're now approaching 25 million in revenues and are still looking to scale. And when I present this back, you can see here in terms of the story and broken down by chapters. And chapter one is all about their profit story. And we just really nice way of breaking it down. We can see the revenues, the gross margin, the overheads, and the operating profit. And again, all these are growing nicely, which is indicated in the green positive sign here. And we also have another chapter that looks more in terms of the balance sheet and working capital, where fortunately Milo isn't doing such a good job. They probably aren't really focused as much as they need to be on their working capital, and that's creating a few challenges as they look into scale. So yeah, chapter one is all about profitability, and we can see some nice trends here about how Mylock and the team are growing both profitability and these ratios here. Chapter two then is all around working capital, and here not such a good story in so much that they've seen their working capital days go from 55 out to 69. So they are taking longer to collect their cash. They're holding more stock than they would have done in previous years. And in so much, that's actually had an impact on the cash to a tune of £782,000. So somewhere along the line, they're needing to find and fund that cash gap, as it were. So that's when we look at the working capital. There are a couple of other chapters that I'm not going to touch on really today. One's around other capital, the other one's around their funding for their business and how that works out. But the next thing I want to really touch on is the power of one. We can see here that I can do all sorts of manipulations using these seven key drivers. Four of them are pretty much around the profitability of the business. We can put about price increase, a volume increase, a cost of goods reduction, and then focus on overheads. And then these three here are very much around how good a job they're doing at looking after their working capital. And we can see here just by looking at what happens if we look to make a 1% improvement across the board. We see at the end of the last financial year, we had a net cash flow of 300,000, an operating profit of 2.3 million. If we were to have a strategy where we were able just by just 1% increase these seven key levers, well, that would be very positive to the tune of nearly 600,000 for cash and 547,000 for operating profit. Now, I'm going to come back to this in a minute. The next one I want to take you through is the business value indicator. So I know that having spoken to the founder of Mylock, that his magic number when he exits the business, he's targeting 15 million. When on that basis, his current business at the end of the year is valued around 5 million. If we just did that scenario of putting 1% on those seven levers, the power of one impact would be 2.3 million. And that's improved our business value by or up to 7.2 million. So rather than having a value gap of 10 million, he's only got now a value gap of 7.7. So that's if we just did it 1%. Now, I'm just going to take you typically how I'd work with a client just to go through and to say, look, let's just not be quite as crude as 1% across the piece. Let's have a think about some different numbers. So let's say we said, right, we believe that we haven't put prices up for a couple of years and with inflation, whatever, we can get away with a 4% price increase. Very, very powerful for cash, very good for operating profit. So that's that. And we're going to focus on getting some new sales in and upselling to our existing customers to the tune of 3%. Because we've seen inflation, actually, that's actually then impacted on our cost of goods. And then rather than getting a benefit there, let's say, for example, that our cost of goods have gone up by 3%. So not such good for cash and profit. But in the main, we've covered that off with the price increase. Done a bit of a job in improving our overheads, team focusing on that. Accounts receivable days, well, let's say we're now collecting 10 days faster than we were the previous year. That's very good for cash. And let's say we've actually managed our stock position, we've actually improved that by 6 days. We've sold off some redundant stock again, and let's keep that pretty much the same of that. So there's a scenario that we can go through at the end of year planning session, strategic planning session, and what we would want to focus on for the coming financial year, i.e. 2026 in this case. And that scenario, if we're able to execute on it, sees us benefit and a power of one impact that takes us from a 300,000 cash flow to plus 1.8 cash flow. Very good for cash. And then our operating profit has gone up from 2.3 million to 3.2 million. So very significant growth there, strong growth. Next thing we then do is once we've done that, so does that make sense? Yes, it does. What has that done to the business value indicator? We can now see that the impact of that power of one has bolstered our profitability from that of 4.8 to a position that we've now got power of one impact of 4.5 of those two together, and that's improved the business value of 9.4 now. So we only now really got a value gap of just 5.5 million. And again, that then shows that probably over the next 2 years, we continue that kind of trajectory. We're well on the way to helping Marlock and the team achieve their business value number. If you'd like to benefit from using this software to help you make better sense of where you currently are in terms of business valuation and what your aspirations are, then please feel free to get in touch and we'd be delighted to take you through a complimentary consultation.